Hi, everybody. We're just going to spend a little bit of time this morning with Mark and Alex, talking particularly about one of our drop-in sessions, which Mark himself is the sponsor, and that's about very much investing in organisational culture. We've had some great discussions over recent weeks and months. They've been excellent. I guess with all of our drop-in sessions, we're moving towards ultimately action speaks louder than words. So all the time with the organisations we're working with, it's great to have the discussions, it really is, but we need that to lead to something, yeah? And so the three of us are just going to have a chat about what we're trying to achieve with this particular drop-in session, maybe some of the areas we've covered so far. And maybe I can ask Mark to begin to share what 2023 might look like in terms of some of our proposed activities. So looking forward to the next 15 or 20 minutes.
Mark, would you just tell us a little bit about the culture sessions that you've been running? You know, maybe a little bit about the genesis of it and what's led you to focusing in on culture.
Yeah. So this kind of initially, we started the sessions just before the middle of the year, and it came out of a conversation that Graham and I were having around probably leadership and what good leadership looks like and what great leadership looks like. And we thought it would be interesting to create a drop-in session so we could start to share some experience among some of the member companies of the LDC. So and we literally just got into action and organized them and you know, invited members along, and found pretty quickly that some of the discussions and the insights we were getting from one another were really quite powerful. So that kind of motivated us to continue the session. So I think we've had around 5-6 sessions now, all with slightly different expectations in terms of the subject matter that we talk about, but it's all around organizational culture. And I think what's really, really clear is that the organizations that do invest in culture and are really working hard to develop the culture are seeing success and are seeing that in the results of the organization. So I think this is a pretty deep vein for the LDC in terms of exploring further. I think going into 2023 we would like to continue on with the sessions, but maybe put a bit more structure around them, and also develop some actions on the back of the sessions so that organizations that are involved really start to put their own plans in place of how they can change their own culture based on the experience that has been shared by others on the calls.
Yeah. One of the key benefits for me, so I've been lucky enough to come along and listen and participate in these discussions, but one of the things that I've really taken from the sessions that I've been along to is partly it's about time to think. So, you know, it's such a deep topic, and you know, it just needs I think a deeper level of thought than you can give to it perhaps when you're kind of in the day-to-day. So that hours become quite precious, really, that hour on a Friday to actually really focus on something that's complex, and that of itself I think has been hugely beneficial. But the other thing is, I think the the people on the call telling their stories, sharing their experiences, because we've got some really experienced people in the group who have led organizations through good times and bad times, and hearing, their stories, and I think their wisdom, I think for someone like me who's a little bit less experienced, it's just a goldmine really of insights and ideas based on people's lived experiences, so.
Yeah. And I think because of the people that we're talking to, their experience is often very practical. So it's experience that can be picked up by somebody else and either followed up outside of the session, or, quite often very quickly people intuitively understand and can take it away themselves and start thinking about it for their own organization. So I think that practicality is really important. And you're right, around culture, it's one of those things that often it's a can that gets kicked down the road, because it's not like buying a piece of equipment that you pay the money and it arrives in 6 months' time and you get some people to install it. Culture it's a bit more will o' the wisp and a bit more difficult to get your arms around. So I think having this forum to be able to discuss it and unearth some of the very subtle things that some of our member companies have done in their own organizations, that is real gold, and is really valuable for the people that have been involved so far.
I think the other thing about it as well is, and I think a huge advantage to working this way, really, over a longer period of time, is that we come together, we have the discussion, and Mark, you always, pose a really interesting question for us to think about, and then we have a little bit of time, a few weeks to go back, and it's always then playing on my mind when I'm back in the day job. And then we reconvene and talk again about a different, nuance or aspect of culture. And what I really like about this with our growing group here, is I think the long-term approach to this of, regular deep thinking insights over a longer period of time. And for me, as opposed to, say, going and doing a training course or something like that, where people might go away for 2 or 3 days, and then come back, I think that what we're doing here with the LDC, by just having sort of a regular window of time to come together, over a longer period of time, really does, I think, encourage a deeper level of thinking and reflection than just giving people just sort of bombarding people with information in a short space of time. So I think that the LDC's method here of once a month bringing the community together works really beautifully, and is really quite different to other ways of tackling this sort of subject matter.
Yeah, and I think, Alex, on that, Mark and I have started to sketch out what next year could look like, and some ambitions around sticking with the 1 hour drop-in sessions for sure, but then getting people in a room as well. Yeah. And building on this work and seeing other organizations who are investing in their culture, so that community becomes even more vibrant and ambitious, really.
Yeah.
And we'll start to share those thoughts over the coming weeks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it isn't just the drop-in sessions, but we're building on things. Yeah,
I think it would be great, and again, one thing for us to think about is, because the sessions are fantastic, and everybody who comes along, I think we all come away thinking, wow, that was every session. There are a few real light bulb moments that you think, that is, I'm so grateful that I was able to have that hour, and I got so much from it.
Yeah.
I think it's what, there's an element of, again, maybe, it's how people who are perhaps a little bit less experienced, how we start to bring more people along to these sessions who will really benefit from the knowledge and the wisdom, of of our more experienced sort of participants, and it'd be great, I think, if in 2023 we can just grow the size of the group a bit, and so that more people can benefit from these discussions.
Well, I just think on that, for the three of us to consider, the point you just made is, with our mentoring project, whether we could blend in our mentees, but that's just food for thought for today, isn't it? Now that you've raised that opportunity, we'll ask Mark to think about the dynamics of that.
We have some fantastic member organisations, and the richness of the experience and the knowledge and the variety, from different organisations, different sectors, is quite unique, and that the hour or the hour and a half that we spend in these drop-in sessions across all the subject ranges is just an ideal environment to learn, because it's not about teaching, it's about sharing experience, it's about storytelling, actually, a lot of the time. And the reality is that stuff sticks. Storytelling is a really helpful way to exchange information, and again, it always, because it's about the members of the LDC, everyone has always got the option to pick up the phone to somebody else and go, can I come and hear that story in a bit more depth, with a bit more color, with a bit more and have a bit more of a feeling by going and seeing and experiencing it directly. And I just think that is so powerful. That will help create real change in our member organizations.
Yeah. So what's our call to action here then? What's our key message? I mean, one thing I suppose for me is that if, for our audience who's watching this video, to get in touch and to come along to your sessions, Mark. I think that's one thing, to get in touch with us so that you can come and join us. That's one key thing. Graham, you mentioned the mentoring sessions that we run. Again, I think that's a fabulous initiative. And so if anyone who's observing this would like to either be a mentor or be mentored, to again get in touch with us and come and join that group.
Yeah, but also maybe we could run a session on this whole cultural investment as part of one of those mentoring sessions, because then we are preparing people in their careers to be better at handling the cultural dynamics. The current group are a senior group of people, and they've developed those skills over the years. But presumably, if we're developing younger leaders to start thinking about culture, even in their own teams, never mind the whole organisation, then again, presumably we're helping people.
Yeah.
Perhaps all three of us could just think about what that could look like.
Yeah. I think from my point of view, it's just building on Alex's point about the organisational culture drop-in session. I think for the members, a wider call to action around the participation in the drop-in sessions, because you get something out of it, but it's also important to put something in. This is a two-way thing that we're trying to create here, the sharing of experience and the learning from experience. And the more people that we have participating in those sessions, the better the quality, the richness, the color of what we all see. So I'll just encourage people to really get involved. It's not it's not just about what you hear and what you see and what you understand. It's actually about you sharing your experience as well, because that is very, very valuable.
Absolutely.
And I guess in all of that, ideally the same people turning up on the calls, because then we just get the continuity of the story. As Mark said earlier, people visiting, one another's organisations and sharing that. And so I think that would be the other call to action. We would like more people on the drop-in sessions, but it brings a cohesion, I think, if it's the same people most of the time.
Yes. So it's a bit of a commitment, really, I suppose. It's, if and hopefully what will happen is, if people come along to a session and like what they see, then, it's not a transactional thing, is it? It's about joining a community. And I think that's what we want to encourage.
We do. Yeah.
And ultimately, as Graham consistently says, it's about, at the end of the day, it's about creating the opportunity for change in the member organisation. So what we want people to feel is that they can go away from those sessions and start to implement some of the things that they have heard about and experienced during the discussions.
Yeah. And sorry, Mark, just on that, literally Mark and I, 8 o'clock this morning, were exploring the idea that, the first 5 or 10 minutes of each call is, so what have you done since the last call? Just give us a flavour of some things that you've, there's been a pilot approach, nothing necessarily transformational in nature, that marginal gains thing, really. And just people have been trying things out, and guess what, they've worked well. So I think Mark and I were thinking about not just for this particular drop-in, but that could be the pattern for all the subject areas as we move forward next year.
Very good. So to our audience, thank you very much indeed for tuning in. Again, please get in touch, and look forward to seeing you at one of our culture sessions or any of the other drop-in events that we are running. We've got events almost every Friday, I think. So look forward to seeing you at an event soon.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks,
Cheers.
Alex. Thanks, Mark. Thank you.